There's a shift happening in our world. Knowledge is everywhere and in so many different formats. There are many reasons the pedagogy of the flipped classroom should be in your toolbox. Traditionally, the flipped classroom was thought to be the simple flipping of the lecture portion of your classroom with the homework piece, allowing students to view lessons, instructions, at home in video format on their own time, making them ready to apply the knowledge in the classroom the next day. The idea is to free up classroom time for more hands-on applications of concepts. Flipping has evolved and changed, incorporating brain research and teacher practice, and is now jailed by its label. If you talk to a flipper, they will tell you that it is much more than that. Flipped-out teachers use a variety of strategies and techniques to create student-centered environments. I think that is the key. Flipping is about making education more centered on students and giving them the knowledge they need when they need it. It's about letting every student know something I think many teachers have forgotten. The idea you have is worth exploring.
Any creator of anything knows this feeling. You experience someone else's innovative work. It's beautiful, brilliant, breathtaking. You're stunned. Their ideas are unexpected and surprising, but perfect. You think, I never would have thought about that. How do they even come up with that? It's genius. Afterwards you think, my ideas are so obvious, I'll never be as inventive as that. I get this feeling often. Amazing books, music, movies, or even amazing conversations. I'm in awe at how the creator thinks like that. I'm humbled. But I continue to do my work. I tell my little tales. I share my point of view. Nothing spectacular, just my ordinary thoughts. So one day someone emailed me and said, I never would have thought about that. How did you even come up with that? It's genius. Of course I disagreed and I explained why it was nothing special. But afterwards, I realized something surprisingly profound. Everybody's ideas seem obvious to them. I'll bet even John Coltrane or Richard Feynman felt that everything they were playing or saying was pretty obvious. So maybe what's obvious to me is amazing to someone else. Hit songwriters in interviews often admit that their most successful hit song was one they just thought was stupid and not even worth recording. We're clearly a bad judge of our own creations. We should just put it out and let the world decide. Are you holding back something that seems too obvious to share?
It's about reimagining good practice. Bloom's taxonomy, for example, is a great scaffolded linear piece of pedagogy. But who thinks linearly? Or learns linearly? As Ramsey Musallam says, what if we used Bloom's in its organic form and started at the top with a big question? Then cycle through and revisit levels until ultimately you understand the big question you were wondering about. The flipped classroom becomes a place of blended learning, using every tool available to give students information when they need it. Not simply a lecture as homework, but rather a complete arsenal of tools, individualizing education in a way that allows the teacher more meaningful time with students.
Hi, it's Paul Anderson. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about the blended learning cycle. Last year, I gave a TED Talk on classroom game design and talked about how I turned my classroom into a video game and how I was using blended learning to do that. It was a great year, but I think I kind of strayed a little bit too far from what I know, and that is the power of the question and the power of learning in a science classroom. And so I've returned to that using the blended learning cycle. So this right here is a picture from around 1900. It was made in France, and basically they're predicting what a classroom will look like in the year 2000 with students plugged up to wires and books being fed into a machine. My classroom doesn't look like this, but it has changed quite a bit in the last 5 years. New. And so if you're not familiar with blended learning, basically what it is it's taking the compelling parts of online, mobile, and classroom learning and then just blending them together in a classroom. So using that technology in a powerful way. You might be less familiar with the learning cycle. Basically, there are 5 E's, and it's a great way to learn science. You start with an engaging question. Students are able to then explore, experiment. You then explain the phenomenon. You expand upon that, and then you evaluate. And so it's a great way to present material and material to be learned. And so if we were to put those together, we have the blended learning cycle.
The flipped classroom is teachers changing education because teachers see the need for it. It looks very different for every educator. It's about finding your own groove. Getting started is easy as #FlippedClassroom. There is such a big, welcoming, and knowledgeable educator community out there that is just waiting for you to flip out.